Okay, this video is called Decoding Your Body's Hidden Energy Drainers. Okay, well, here's where this comes from. I had an extra 15 minutes, so if you just type into your YouTube channel, it sometimes tells you, viewers are interested in this. So just for fun, I sometimes done that. And actually, those do tend to get more views. It's sort of like, if you do what YouTube wants, you get more views. Because YouTube kind of controls how many views. It decides how many people to show stuff to. So anyways, here's your hidden energy drainers. First of all, I'm the world expert on mitochondria inhibitors. I made a list of over 100 of them. The best video of that is I just did a video on that over at VegSource. So if you go to VegSource, the YouTube channel, you'll see the whole list. But the bottom line is just what's the big picture on mitochondria inhibitors. Over 90% of the ATP, the energy molecule of your cells, is made in your mitochondria. And all the heavy metals pretty much are mitochondria inhibitors. And that's things like aluminum, which is in your tap water, so you got to filter that out. The halogens also from the vertical column in the periodic table of elements, especially fluoride. Okay, it's a mitochondrial inhibitor. The processed foods are full of mitochondrial inhibitors. The atrazine, which is sprayed on all the GMO corn, mitochondrial inhibitor. It's also, these are feminizing chemicals too, they're estrogenic. Also glyphosate, feminizing, plus it's a mitochondrial inhibitor. They sap your energy, you know, it's death by 1,000 cuts. All of these things are decreasing your ability to produce ATP and generate energy. You don't want that. Okay, lots of medications are also mitochondrial inhibitors, including common ones. Statins, metformin, antidepressants, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, okay, tricyclics, antipsychotics, okay, psych medicines are a joke. All right, excitotoxins, those are things that activate the NMDA receptor of your brain cells, the same one that glutamate binds to. It's a calcium channel. So this includes excessive stress because it raises cortisol and catecholamines. Caffeine does the same thing as excessive stress, so you don't want to be drinking a lot of caffeine. It's best to not have any. I quit, I don't know how many years ago. I'm glad that I did. I'm done with it. For years, I used to be kind of hooked on that cup of coffee, addicted to it. But I'm glad to have been done with that a long time ago. You feel better when you're done with caffeine. You don't get that afternoon lag. You sleep better. You're better off. Your energy level will feel a little bit weak for about 2 weeks or so. Then it'll come back to normal for most people. Aspartame is a major excitotoxin. That means excitotoxin means overstimulates the brain cells, overexcites them, and that can cause them to die if they can't keep up with the metabolic demands. High-fat diets are excitotoxins indirectly because what they do is they cause insulin resistance. And then the body has to make something called insulin-degrading enzyme to clear out the extra insulin. You get hyperinsulinemia. The pancreas makes more insulin. Blood levels of insulin go up. Insulin-degrading enzyme goes around removing it. It has a higher affinity for the insulin than it does for the beta-amyloid protein. And it gets used up in the removal of the insulin protein. So then the beta-amyloid protein from circulating around the peripheral part of the body, it re-enters, crosses the blood-brain barrier, goes into the brain, and it also activates the NMDA receptor, allowing more calcium in your brain cells, making them hyper-excitable, and thus draining your energy, and can cause brain fog, headaches, insomnia, anxiety, even paradoxical depression. It's bad. Also, you don't want to be holding your cell phone to your head. Your calcium channels in your brain at your synaptic terminals are voltage-gated calcium channels. So your cell phone's a low-power microwave transmitter. It sends waves into your brain that open up those voltage-gated calcium channels, and so they overactivate your brain cells. And if you overactivate them too much, again, the Peter Rogers, MD, supply and demand theory, you can cause those brain cells to die, to go into apoptosis. Again, I have much longer lectures on all these. This is a quick summary of these things, of what you can do. Stop holding your cell phone to your head. Stop eating processed food. The best diet for humans is to eat low-fat, low-sodium, 100% vegan, whole foods only, low protein also, single ingredient foods. The reason you want single ingredient foods is they can put stuff in the second ingredient without telling you, like MSG, MFG. You don't want that because that's an excitotoxin. Manufactured free glutamate, monosodium glutamate. It's the glutamate. All the brain cares about is the glutamate. Okay. Let's see. So that's the best diet. Low fat is best, so you don't end up with insulin resistance and you don't get fat. Being fat makes you tired, weak, slow, hypertensive, diabetic, and it makes you unattractive. Men can't help it. We're not attracted to fat women. We're just not. It's programmed into our DNA. Fat women, they look like pregnant women or they look like grandmas, okay? We are programmed to be attracted to women who are fertile, okay? Fertility is indicated by that hourglass figure. We just can't help it. That's what nature has programmed us to like. So it just is the way it is. Okay, low sodium, because then you don't get vasoconstricted. In nature, sodium is low, okay? So that's what we're designed to eat. Low protein is best because the natural diet of humans is low in protein. Human breast milk's about 5 or 6% of calories from protein at the most rapid phase of growth in our life when we're babies, okay? The rest of our life, we need less than that. It's impossible, pretty much, to eat less than that. Essentially impossible, no matter what you do. Even the low-protein starches have more protein than that. Things like white rice, about 7 or 8% of calories from protein. So forget about it, okay? Fruits are really low in protein. If you eat a lot of fruits, you can get your protein down. Beans are the highest protein food, and you can eat a little bit of those each day. McDougall recommends no more than 1 cup. You know, like Ruth Heydrich, the lady who survived metastatic breast cancer for, over 45 years. She's in her 90s now. She would not eat beans because she wanted to keep her protein down. You don't need all that protein. It's for structure. You don't need that much structure as you get older. Okay. And it protects your kidneys, lowering your dietary protein. 100% vegan, all plant foods. All the good stuff's in the plant foods. All the bad stuff is in the processed food, and the meat's also sort of in between. Especially even the grass-fed, wild-caught beef, whatever. It's still not good for you. Okay, it doesn't have very high potassium, for example. You want a high dietary potassium. You want a high dietary magnesium. Those come from plants. Single ingredient only, like I said. No oil. All oils are toxic to blood vessels. They're all bad, including olive oil, including omega-3s, including canola oils. All that stuff is just hype. And the high-fat plant foods, best to avoid those two. They'll make you fat. All the things like the nuts and the seeds and et cetera, et cetera. You got to filter your water, at least with a carbon filter, to get most of your estrogenics out of there. But there's also such a thing as metalloestrogenics like aluminum, and you want to avoid that. I recommend you be a minimalist, live like Adam and Eve, but keep your indoor heating and plumbing. And that means none of these personal care products. Like, I think deodorant's the stupidest thing. You walk in a room, people say, hey, how you doing? Nobody walks up to you and smells your armpit, okay? If a woman's got her nose in her armpit, she already likes you, okay? You don't need this. The deodorant's not going to change anything. The aluminum, the worst is a spray, and you inhale it, and the aluminum is inhaled through your nose. Olfactory nerve goes right back by your hippocampus, your memory center, can cause cognitive decline. You don't need all that crap. Don't waste your time, your money. It's transdermally absorbed. The typical stupid person shaves their armpit first to get increased transdermal absorption. Upper outer quadrant of the breast is shared lymphatics with the armpit, and that's thought to be a major cause of the increased incidence of upper outer quadrant breast cancer. Back in the 1920s, it was about 25% of breast cancer. Now it's 60% of breast cancer. So you're putting at least 2 estrogenics in your armpit with the deodorant. First is the aluminum. Second is the typical preservative like powerbenzoic acid is also an estrogenic chemical because it's got a phenol group on it. Phenol groups will activate the estrogen receptor typically. Avoid the plastics as best you can. Bisphenol A, they all got phenol groups in them. The phthalates, just, again, be a minimalist, okay? And just use as few personal care products as you can. For example, if you're a low-fat vegan with no oil, then you don't need a dishwasher. So you don't get that dishwasher estrogenic chemicals. You just throw your clothes in the washing machine. I just rinse them. I wash them with hot water. I don't put detergent on them. Okay, so I don't have to get the detergent in laundry detergent's estrogenic. There's tons of estrogenic chemicals. They're relatively ubiquitous. So being a minimalist is the only way to avoid them. And I found it a waste of time to try to find less estrogenic products. You just don't use them. Okay, leaky gut. Avoid things that cause leaky gut, because that leads to bacterial endotoxins getting in your blood, making it prothrombotic, and that's going to decrease blood flow to your tissues. Your muscles function best when they have good blood flow. What provides that? A low-fat diet. When you eat high-fat diets, it sticks the red blood cells together. That's called blood sludge or rouleau formation, stack of coins in French, and that lowers oxygen delivery to the tissues about 15 to 20%. So that's going to drop your energy level. You don't want that. Another thing to be aware of is a caffeine substitute. You can just use beet juice. I like beet juice as a caffeine substitute because it doesn't have the delayed, insomnia effect. Okay, I've done it over 1,000 times. It's a little bit expensive though, so you don't want to be doing that every day. It does work well though. The stationary bicycle riders had better performance after drinking beet juice about an hour and a half, 2 hours before. Good to exercise every day, at least walk, okay? Like people always say, oh, you go to a hospital where all the experts are in health, and I laugh. Okay, I've worked in hospitals. I've been a doctor over 30 years. Let me show you something. Every hospital you'll go to, you'll see 99% of people, they all take the elevators. They're so freaking lazy. They're wimps. They're disgraced, okay? You should be taking the stairs. Elevators are for wimps, sissies, fat, stupid people. If you want to be, physically fit, energetic. I'm 62. I got no medical problems. Almost every patient in the Western world by 60 years of age, most of them are overweight unless they're too poor and they're starving. They're hypertensive. They're pre-diabetic, diabetic. They've got coronary artery disease, cerebral vascular disease. I routinely see at least one silent stroke in the brains of people 60 years and older in the Western world. There are some who don't have any, but I can tell you the vast majority do. What else? Good to get some sunshine. You get your vitamin D, and it does a whole bunch of other good things too. Increases your systemic vasodilation. Okay, but what the point I was making, hospital workers, you know, you walk around. The majority of nurses I know are fat. It's like, how is this nurse lady going to help you if she's fat herself? Okay, if she's fat, that means she doesn't know diet. Okay, that means she doesn't understand the significance of hypertension and diabetes. And they all got the mentality of match the ill to the pill, send the bill. But the pills don't really work. The cure rate for hypertension and diabetes with a pill is 0. Okay. The cure rate with low-fat vegan diet is about 100%. Same thing for coronary artery disease. Get your sunshine. Like I said, does a lot of good things. Good to have religion. Religious people are much healthier. The modern world tries to mock religion, but the modern world sucks in compared to religion. Okay. The greatest people who ever lived, the greatest artists, you know, Michelangelo. He's a devout Christian. Okay. He's a member of a monk's religious order. Okay. Isaac Newton, he spent more time studying the Bible and writing about the Bible than he did doing science. Okay, religion tells you life has meaning, to serve God, to serve other peoples, to become the best version you can of yourself. That's motivation, that it really matters, that you're performing for God, okay? Michelangelo, Bach, the greatest performers of all time, say, I do everything for Christ. Michael Faraday, it goes on, okay? And then the best painters, the best writers, the best architects, almost all of them are Christian, okay? Compared to Christianity, all the other cultures really pretty much stink, okay? That's the honest truth. You know, all this multiculturalism is BS. If the other cultures want to say they're as good as Christianity, show me your art, show me your literature, show me your architecture, show me your sculpture, okay? Show me, you know, what scientific movement you led. The modern scientific movement came out of Christianity, okay? So that's just a fact. And then other people say, oh, atheism is more objective. BS. Atheism says that life has no meaning, okay? So atheism leads to becoming drug addicts, alcoholics, dropouts, mass murderers, okay? Atheism is for losers, okay? You don't want that. Okay, sense of purpose in your life. You know, like Schopenhauer said, he says the best thing to do is try to live a heroic life. He says if you just simply ask yourself, what's the best I can do with the time I have left on this planet, and you try to do that, then you will respect yourself because you did the best you could with your situation, and that'll make you happy. Okay, and you know, I liked, you know, James Watson, what he said about happiness. He said, an animal is happy when he does what it's meant to do. A horse is happy when it runs. If you felt you were born to be a coach, then be the best coach you can be. You're born to be a teacher, be the best teacher you could be. And then you'll respect yourself, and then you'll like yourself, so you'll be happy. That's how it works. You can't just want happiness, because that ends up, that actually doesn't work. And a lot of things people might not expect, you know. Like, for example, Aristotle said the greatest pleasure in life is contemplation, you know, learning and thinking, because unlike the other pleasures, it does not wax and wane. You could read and study and think about stuff all day long, and that's enjoyable. Okay, reverse osmosis filter. We talked about that for water. We talked about avoiding estrogenic chemicals. We talk about avoiding leaky gut. So you do all these things, you'll be a lot healthier. You'll be a lot more fit, a lot more energetic. I know people that want to be healthy, okay? They eat this way, low-fat vegan diet. They go out of their way on their lunch break to do a couple extra sets of stairs. They're doing over, 40, 50 flights or more of stairs every day. And then all these fat, whining people are sitting around taking the elevator, getting fatter and fatter and saying, gee, I wish I could be skinny. It's like, well, why don't you just eat the low-fat vegan diet? Oh, I can't do that. Why don't you take the stairs? Oh, I can't do that. Well, excuse me, if you don't change your behavior, then you're not going to change your physical fitness or your appearance. So anyways, there it is. Hope that helps.